Hello everybody and welcome to Economics. So this is the second video to the Bitcoin series. If you haven't seen the first one, I highly suggest you watch it. The link is in the description below. So in the last video, we had a very superficial discussion regarding why Bitcoins had reached such a high price in such a short amount of time. However, we did not really go into the details, but that is what we're going to be talking about today. The pertinent details as to why Bitcoins are so unique and why are they priced at such a high value. Before we begin, a certain terminology, intrinsic value, should be defined. So intrinsic value simply means pretty much the real value of something. For example, the price of a Bitcoin right now is not its intrinsic value. Well, it could be, but the point being that everything has an intrinsic value, which is unfortunately hard to determine. If you still do not get what intrinsic value means, don't fret, because the actual discussion of Bitcoins will give you a better grasp of its meaning. So now let's talk about why Bitcoins are significant, why people want them, and what their intrinsic, in other words, real value is. First off, it should be mentioned that Bitcoin is the first cryptocurrency to be created and used. Cryptocurrencies are unique because of the fact that they have a set amount, unlike a fiat currency like the US dollar. In this respect, many people compare cryptocurrency's finite amount to that of something like gold or other precious metals. It seems that the inventor or inventors of Bitcoins, Satoshi Nakamoto, who is still anonymous, was trying to create a commodity similar to precious metals, since Bitcoins can be mined just as precious metals can be mined. But why do we care if something like Bitcoins has a finite amount or not? The answer to that is something with a controlled and fixed amount will always have a controlled supply and thus making it valuable. But just looking at the above, it is still difficult to determine the intrinsic value of Bitcoins. Just because something is finite and rare doesn't mean it's valuable. So what's the real value of Bitcoins? Or in other words, how are they able to be used and how can they benefit the user? The answer will obviously differ from case to case, but there are notable groups that should be mentioned because they are really the ones who drove up the price of Bitcoins in the first place. People who are actively engaging in criminal activities such as the illegal drug trade or any illegal trade in general were some of the first users of Bitcoins. People in the black market will most likely be using Bitcoins so that they cannot be traced as they would if they were to use, say, a credit card. In fact, a website called Silk Road was taken down because it was a market that carried out the sale and distribution of illicit drugs and other illegal commodities alike. Bitcoins were the only medium of transaction on Silk Road, and after Silk Road was taken down, the price of Bitcoins dropped profoundly. But nevertheless, Bitcoins are bought by many people who do not participate in illicit activities, and this reason why these people buy Bitcoins is interesting and worth taking a deeper look at to determine the intrinsic value of Bitcoin. Bitcoins are a cryptocurrency and thus they can be used as, a currency. A while back when Bitcoins peaked, the reason behind the sudden increase in price was due to the augmented demand. Why was there such a demand? One main reason was that China found out about Bitcoins. The Chinese search engine Baidu.com had announced that it had just started accepting Bitcoins as a currency. However, because of the recent Chinese government ban on Bitcoins, the price of Bitcoins fell. But why did the Chinese government issue the ban on Bitcoins? Because it is not a centralized currency like the Chinese currency yuan. That's why Bitcoins can be very powerful. People are able to buy them like they buy gold. Many people hope to use them as a currency or keep them as an asset just to avoid inflation and devaluation of their current country's currencies. Its fixed amount and utilitarian purposes will ensure that it will not inflate. And so these are pretty much all of the important facts you should know about Bitcoins as an introductory. There is a lot more about them, but I hope you learned something and would like to read and learn more about them. So what is their intrinsic value? Will prices go up or down? Comment what you think will happen. Feel free to have discussions and debates. Thanks for watching. Until next time, this is Economics.